This real life drama is a whirlwind and I am dizzy. And these are your stories. The form is still open. I'm gonna keep it open for a little while, get all your stories in this month. We are collecting. There's a lot that were submitted while I was away. We're gonna get through them. The first one wants to be left anonymous. Joss, do I have a stunner for you? Music to my ears. This is about my ex-girlfriend. We will call her Psych. 29 female because she's a complete psycho. Am I the a-hole for how I handled things? I'm just gonna dive in deep to all the craziness that happened during our 5 years together. This took place back in roughly 2004 when I, 45 male, was 25 at the time and had just recently graduated from college with a degree in astronomy. That's so cool! I don't know anyone who graduated with a degree. I do know people who graduated with a degree. Hold on. With a degree in astronomy. Yeah, that would be saying a lot. For context, I grew up as a big fan of space and have always wanted to get involved in studying about our solar system, so it was my dream job to work for NASA. As you can expect, I took college credit courses during high school so I could graduate early and enroll into MIT. During my time at MIT, I met this beautiful young woman, Psych, who definitely caught my attention. Why do I like the name Psych? It's kind of like psych, but it's a vibe. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Psych. Kind of badass. We were both in the same trigonometry class and Psych was studying to become a doctor. Obviously, we were both extremely smart and we're both nerdy about things, and that's how we connected with each other. Over time, Psych became increasingly interested in me because she always would send a gift basket to my dorm with a love letter and would include some astronomy-themed pickup lines. That made my heart happy, and I eventually asked her out and we dated for about 5 years. Let me tell you, those were 5 years I spent in hell. Psych was one of those girlfriends who you think are going to be amazing, but in reality turn out to be a complete nightmare. First thing you gotta know about Psych is she would text me over and over again until I would answer. Don't get me wrong, I was crazy about her, but obviously nowhere near as this. In class, Psych openly told everyone that I was her property and that no girls were allowed to talk to me. I tried to explain that there is no need to show off our relationship with everyone, but she didn't listen. Psych told me all of her past relationships ended badly, which was an immediate red flag that I should have noticed earlier. Her family was very dysfunctional, to say the least. Her sisters, Mandy and Aubrey, didn't approve of me, and neither did her father, Harry, because he viewed working for NASA as impossible and that I should get a real job by his standards. Well, imagine telling someone that you're a YouTuber and you move to a different city to pursue acting. So NASA sounds pretty freaking great. To make matters worse, Psych's best friend Simon would occasionally flirt with Psych in front of me by occasionally holding her hand and saying flirty things to her. That didn't sit well with me and I told Simon to knock it off, but Psych assured me that that's just how he is. I never bought that belief. This circus went on until it reached its boiling point. Towards the end of our college education, in May of 2009, I got interviewed by NASA for an entry-level job as a data analyst. I went home to tell Psych the good news, but rather than being greeted with excitement and joy, Psych told me she didn't want me to go because she couldn't stand the thought of me being away from her, even though we shared an apartment at this time of the event. Okay, well, just so you know, I'm so freaking proud of you. How cool is that? An interview with NASA? That's insane. Also, Aubrey and Mandy were there visiting and they had the nerve to accuse me of walking out on her because I was going to be working full-time. If you think that was bad enough, then prepare yourself for this bombshell. Prepared. I asked Psych if there was a reason why she felt the need to feel this way, and she told me, while you've been so focused on your fantasy gig, Simon has been here for me. When I heard those words, I was absolutely blown away and shook. This gave me the indication that Simon and Psych were having an affair behind my back. I demanded to know if they'd been together, and all I got was, Simon has been there for me and he's a real man. I stormed off outside to our patio area to get some fresh air and calm myself because there were so many things going through my head, but I didn't get the chance to because as I looked to the side, I saw Simon standing there chilling as if he owned the place. That is when I snapped. You Get out now, I screamed at him. Simon pretended to act all innocent, but I knew what he was doing and it wasn't going to fly. Psyche and her sisters came outside to see what was going on, and Mandy spoke up saying, "See, unlike you, Simon is a real man who has good looks and knows how to treat women like Psyche." The audacity she had saying that. I just stood there with an angry look on my face. I felt completely hopeless and I turned to Psyche for help to back me up, but she stood there silent. Simon then took Psyche's hand and said, "Let's get out of here. You don't deserve this loser." Ugh! That's when I completely lost it, and I grabbed Simon by the shoulders and I pushed him out the door and was screaming at Psyche and her sisters to leave too, and thankfully they did without any further trouble. I screamed, "Get out of my life and don't ever speak to me again." Finally, after all that drama had passed, I broke down crying. I couldn't believe what had just happened and that I did indeed feel like a loser for seeing the girl I love betray me like this, and to have to watch that bastard Simon literally walk out of my place with Psyche made it hurt that much more. Long story short, I spent the next few days at home gathering myself. I packed up Psyche's stuff so she could come back to pick them up, but before she could, the doorbell rang and I could see through the peephole that it was Harry, which is her dad. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the door. Shut the drapes. Turn off the lights. Hide in the closet. No one's home. I had a very bad feeling about what he was going to say, but when I opened the door, Harry looked sympathetic. Oh, and said, "I heard what happened, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry for what my daughter did to you." That was the first and only time I had ever heard Harry say something positive to me. I was confused by this, but I did open up to him about more of what happened between me and Psyche. It turns out, Harry discovered that Simon was a player, and he saw him kissing another girl. I can't say I was surprised, but at the same time, I felt no sympathy towards Psyche because she got what she wanted, I guess. But before Harry left, what he said next was the last thing I ever expected to hear from him. Quote, "You weren't nearly as bad as I thought you were. You were a great guy and I should have seen that, and for that, I'm sorry." I shook his hand and I told him I forgive him and I just wish him all the best, and he promised me that he would keep Psyche away from me for good. I gave him the rest of Psyche's possessions and he took them with him. After he left, I sent a text message to Psyche sarcastically saying, "I hope you and Simon are happy together," and then afterwards I blocked her. For the first time in 5 years, I felt completely normal and relieved. I haven't been in a relationship since because this relationship turned me off them because I've developed trust issues and I don't want to have my heart broken again. Am I the a-hole for how I handled this situation? No, what did you even do that you would be thinking that? Told them to get out? That is quite literally like the kind version of things. I would have went bat crazy. They would have called the cops on me. So, no, I do not think you are the a-hole by any means in this story. I would have been, but not you. The next story is coming in from Kristen. I was 17 when I met Josh, who was 25. Do I have to just breeze over that fact? Illegal, creepy. I was still in high school and my home life was not very good. My mother was very mentally ill and substance-induced psychosis a lot of my teen years. My father passed when I was 15. Josh was handsome and a charming man. He gave me all the attention and love that I craved. I moved in with him in a one-bedroom studio apartment and I ended up pregnant. During my pregnancy, he would keep me awake at night, arguing with me, accusing me of cheating on him while I was at school. I was exhausted. He brainwashed me in ways that you would not think possible. I went into labor with our first son in the middle of the night, me with no family really, and only him as my support. He was so angry that it was 2 a.m. in the morning and my labor had started. Before we got to the hospital, he had me crying, calling me a weak B-word, and telling me I was purposely trying to ruin his day. Please tell me you left and never saw him again. Please tell me. And I know that he's the father of the child, but please. I can't stand him already. I had my son emergency C-section because my son's heartbeat was dropping while I was trying to push. After my C-section, he left me at the hospital for the next day by myself and would not answer my calls or texts. He ended up showing up with my mentally ill mother to the hospital, where she then asked me to act like I took my pain medication and slip it to her when the nurse was not looking. I just wanted her to leave. He made me feel guilty for not wanting my mom there. and they ended up leaving together. Later, I found out by him and her both that they left and went back to our place and had sex multiple times. What is going on? This started a 5-year affair between them. What is happening? This is insane. He took advantage of my mentally unwell mother. She was never in no state of mind to consent to doing these things with him. My first son was 18 months old when I stupidly got pregnant again with him. Hold on. Oh my God. Hold on. This man went and hooked up with your mom while you're in the hospital, and you stayed with him, and they had an affair for 5 years, and you got pregnant by him again? Girl. I know that I can't. I know that you did this and I can't change it, but girl, why? I had another baby boy, and of course, nothing was different again this pregnancy. He mentally abused me every day and belittled me and financially ruined me. I was working a full-time job while he was staying home with our children, during which time he had a pill addiction and was spending all of my money on his habit. Multiple times our electricity got cut off and he did not pay the rent with the money I left for him to give to the landlord. One of his side pieces ended up calling CPS on us, and my kids almost got taken away because they found his substances in our apartment. His parents ended up with temporary custody of them, and me and my kids went to live with them. During that time, he said he could not stand to be around his mother, so he stayed behind at the apartment. And of course, during that period, I had multiple women in my home, my bed. I got so many messages from people who lived around us telling me of all the people that he had coming in and out. I finally broke free from him being away from him. His mother and father helped me so much, and I am forever grateful for them showing me love that my family never did. I gained full custody of my kids and moved out on our own while working full-time with my children in a daycare. Thank God. I found a wonderful man who now me and my children have a beautiful life with. He has from day one treated my children as his own, and I am now a happy, thriving, stay-at-home mom to our son that me and Nate, my wonderful husband, have together. He has severe autism and is not in school yet, so we do therapy at home for him. Recently, Josh got out of jail and has apparently got his life together. And I am a true believer that people can change. He has never wanted to be in our son's lives. He has only ever taken from them. My oldest son barely remembers him, and what he does remember is him seeing him hit me. Our other son does not remember him at all. He has never made any effort in 8 years to see them or be a part of their lives. But now I need to know if I am the a-hole. Because he's doing better, his family is urging me to let him see the boys and talk with them on the phone. I have never lied and told our sons that Nate is their father, even though he is all they've ever known. They're getting older and I answer any questions they have, but honestly, they have happy lives and I've never really said anything about him. I told his family that he will now have to take me to court to gain rights to them because I will not allow him to just come into their lives. Because to me, I do not see how someone cannot know a kid for 8 years and actually love them. How do I know he will actually put our kids before himself when that has been all he has ever done? They do not think I should make him go to court, but I feel like he needs to prove he is ready to be a dad that they deserve, because my boys deserve a consistent dad, which they have in Nate. I just want my kids to do their best, and I do not want my negative feelings against him to overshadow or sway that decision. Please, any input will be great. Parents out there, please enter the chat because you will have more experience on this than I will. However, my initial reaction is, of course you're not the a-hole. I think you absolutely are doing the right thing by going through the court system on this. You're protecting your boys. You're protecting yourself. I think going through a court, seeing as this person also just got out of jail, is the right thing to do. I think you are so valid in everything you're feeling about this situation. I can't even imagine having to deal with someone coming back 8 years later being like, I want to see them. Oh, I'm so glad it's convenient for you now, 8 years later. Let me know, parents. I want all your thoughts and feelings on this and any advice that we can offer. Grab your beverage of choice. It's hydration station time. I gotta keep drinking my orange juice water. If you know, you know. Cheers. Next story wants to be left anonymous. I met my husband under very curious circumstances, and when we met, we were both in committed relationships. Our respective relationships ended, and by somewhat chance, we ran into each other and we started to connect and became friends. For over 7 months, we regularly texted, spent some time on the phone, talking late at night, and we saw each other every other weekend during our time as friends. When he managed to have some courage to confess his feelings for me, I was very direct and I told him, if we start dating, this is it for me. I will marry you. And we did. Oh, I love a little love story. At the time, he lived with his parents, which for my country isn't that odd. As our relationship progressed, he introduced me to his parents, and right off the bat, I could see his mother would be a big problem. She presented herself as the matriarch. She always had something bad or rude to say about someone and presented it as her being honest. In my humble opinion, she could dish it out, but she couldn't take it. She was always the victim. Everyone has wronged her. My then boyfriend warned me about her and told me not to trust everything she says. He had a deep-rooted resentment towards his mother because of the way that she is, and he endured a lot of manipulation and gaslighting from his mother for as long as he can remember. I still claim to this day his mom is a narcissist, even though that term is now overused sometimes, but bear with me because I will show you with examples why I hold that belief. I moved in with him after 5 months of our relationship. We had our own separate floor while his parents were living upstairs. She would regularly barge in without knocking for the dumbest reason and always complain about the smallest things, like why I didn't wash blankets that were on our sofa when I had washed them a week prior, or why we didn't fold our laundry this way when her way was perfect. BS like that. She would barge in on our day off and wake us up at 6 a.m. and tell us how lazy we are. We were both working full-time physical jobs and needed rest. She would always tell me how I can confide in her, and when I didn't do so, she would make up some BS lie to my boyfriend and her husband. At times, I was feeling like I was choking, but I saw potential in my husband and willingness to get away from that situation, but he was conditioned his whole life to think that he can't do any better. He used to cry in my lap, begging me not to leave him and to keep fighting for him and us. He was really at a low point mentally in his life. Despite his parents, mostly his mom, I stayed and fought with him for him. She tried to smear my name with their family any way that she could. He decided to ask me to marry him, and I said I do. Both of us didn't want to have a big expensive wedding, so one day we just decided to make it official and get married at City Hall. 1 year after that, we found out I was pregnant. Yay, right? No. Oh. No, I had miscarried at the 3-month mark. Oh my God, and I was so excited for you. I'm so sorry. We were devastated. His mother, however, was gossiping how I have unalived the baby by consuming illegal substances. Not even 24 hours after I had miscarried, she barged into my bedroom and demanded I put on my jacket and go take a drug test at her family's doctor office. My husband was away for 2 days because his employer needed him at a job site that they had planned 6 months ahead. He did ask me if he should stay, but I told him I'll be fine and he should go, not to disappoint his boss or his coworkers. I was bleeding and I had to have a procedure where they needed to scrape out all the tissue that didn't come out during the miscarriage. My heart. We did that, and after that, he left. As I mentioned, she barged in and demanded I go with her to do the test. I was in so much pain and still very emotional, but I didn't have it in me to fight. I was raised not to be disrespectful towards elders, and that is why I never said a bad word to this woman, not even to this day. See, this whole respect your elders thing, no, I respect people who respect me. Simple. Point blank period. Age has nothing. If you're an elder and you're disrespectful to me, you don't have my respect. I respect people, but if you're disrespectful, I don't owe you anything at that point. And maybe some of y'all might disagree with that. Some of y'all might be, nope, you have to respect anybody. If they're elderly, they have seniority, you owe them I don't know anybody anything. You get what you give to me, man. So I put on a jacket and went out on a cold winter morning, praying that after she saw I was negative, she would finally leave me alone. I have never used or been around people that used illegal substances. When we came to see her family doctor, the doctor was appalled by the way she spoke to me, and after he found out that I was still heavily bleeding from my miscarriage, he threw her out of the examination room and comforted me and asked how he can help. I didn't want to cause any more trouble, so I just went outside and came back home with her while she berated me the whole way home. When my husband came home, I didn't really say a word, but she worked really hard to break us up. That was the first time my husband confronted his mother because of her behavior towards me. Silly me tried to patch things up between them because I thought we live in their house. We can't just live in this tension. Where is my father-in-law in all of this, you may ask? He is always pretending to be on our side, but when push came to shove, he was her flying monkey all the way. He once followed me to my workplace just to see if I really went to work or if I was maybe cheating on my husband. I never, ever, ever gave them any reason to doubt me, but alas, they hated me just because I gave hope of a happy life to their son. 2 years into our marriage, we got pregnant again, and as luck would have it, my sister-in-law offered him to come and work at her company in another country in Europe, which meant we were going to move out of their parents' house and live on our own. That didn't sit well with my mother-in-law. She pulled out every weak argument for us to stay with them. She even tried to bribe us to stay. But my husband knew if we stayed with them, I would probably leave at that point. So we packed our life and moved to another country for a better future. Our beautiful kid was born, and so began her campaign from afar, how our son is not my husband's and that I cheated. Okay, this woman is obsessed. She needs to give it up. She worked relentlessly to put bad blood between us and between sister-in-law, which she almost managed to do, but my sister-in-law's kids were onto her and convinced my sister-in-law that my mother-in-law is playing victim, as always, and she's trying to do the same as she did to both sister-in-law and brother-in-law. They were tired of their grandmother coming to visit only to create problems and ignite fights. Then she says that she was just being honest. And then she says she is the victim and then goes on her merry way back home. I am telling you, narcissist. Me and my sister-in-law made a pact that day that no one will come between us again, and she told me to always approach her when her mother is creating trouble. Throughout the years, she tried many times to get herself inserted into my relationship with my husband's side of the family. But as the time passed, they all came to realize that I never badmouthed her, never confronted her when she was acting badly towards me, and in return, she was always nasty towards me. They all called her out on it because I was the keep the peace kind of person back then. When will the time come that I stand up for myself, you ask? Well, let me tell you. I'm so happy for this. I was back from the hospital after I had our third child, and I was breastfeeding my baby when she FaceTimed me and told me that she heard a rumor that was being spread around about how none of my kids are my husband's. She was the one spreading the rumor, and how all of this would be cleared after I just accepted to do a paternity test. My blood was boiling. After 6 years of marriage, everything we have been through, this witch is still trying her hardest to smear me. I told her, no problem, but I would not be paying for the tests and certainly not my husband. If you are so convinced that these kids aren't your grandchildren, then you won't have any problem paying for it. She then tried to backtrack it, saying how she isn't the one doubting, but I just told her I wanted peace and quiet to enjoy my baby, and I hung up. That day, my husband got home early from work and she called me again. As he saw her name on my phone, he told me to put her on speaker and to not tell her that he is in the room. He never heard how extremely vile she could be towards me, but he knew that she was the problem because every time he went to visit them, I would throw up for the whole 4 days because of how nervous I was to be around her. I answered the call and she started to spew her venom. After her ranting for 5 full minutes, my husband took the phone and read her the riot act. He yelled at her for 20 minutes, telling her how she doesn't deserve to even look at me, how she would be lucky if I even wished I could scrape my shoes off of her. I was impressed, to say the least. Then he called my sister-in-law, told her everything, and she came running to us, making sure I was okay, and she also called her parents to berate them. They are the people who never stood up to their parents, but they did it for me. Both of them decided to go very low contact with them, and I went no contact for over 2 years. After 2 years, she called me to half apologize, but I told her she did this to herself. If she ever did something like this again, I would have no issue going no contact, not just for myself, but my kids as well, for judging how she thinks they are not her blood. She will not have any issue with that. She tried to cry and play the victim again, but I told her I am no longer naive, dumb, and young. I'm a woman in my 30s and I wouldn't stand for this BS no more. She calmed down, and the last 3 years have been relatively peaceful. That That is when she decides to get her frustrations out on her own family. But she leaves me be for the most part. Why did I go through all of this, you ask? I did it for my husband. He was always told by her that he couldn't do better than to live with them till they died, that not a single girl can hold up to her standards, and that it's best for him to not try anything new or exciting in his life because it was a waste of time. He fought with me throughout all of this. He confronted them many times, but he just didn't have the strength to distance himself because he thought he amounted to nothing. Since we moved to another country, we have managed to work steady jobs, have a big and loving family, bought our own property, and travel to new places, something he thought he could never do. He was willing to change, and he was actively trying every day. That is why I don't like to take credit, because he did it for himself, for our happiness. I'm so glad you have a happy ending, because this mother-in-law sounds like an absolute nightmare. I couldn't deal with that, you guys. And I'm so glad that the 4 years I got to experience with Matt's mom. For everyone who's new here, Matt's mother passed away almost 2 years ago. I'm so glad we had such a good relationship. Like, we loved each other, and I can't imagine if her and I didn't get along for some reason, or if she just didn't like me or didn't like me for her son. I can't imagine. That would have been devastating. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, you guys. See you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sexy.